here. To know your engagement and your presence and that you care about what's going to happen in the state of Maryland means so much to every one of us here as candidates. So, as I said earlier, I'm a civil engineer. And what I like to believe also is the road to progress is always under construction. So that means it's going to take every one of us on this road to continue to fight for the progressive values that we believe in. Now, it's going to take men, women, all of us to make this happen. Now, how do we do this? One of the most important ways is we have an election that's coming before us right now. We want to make sure Larry Hogan is a one-term governor. We want to make sure that we flip 24 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, if not more. We want to make sure that we flip seats in the U.S. Senate. We want to make sure that the guy in the White House won't be elected come 2020. So we got to make sure that we make every effort to do that. And we also need to make sure that Congressional District 6 remains blue, because that's the way we'll be able to fight for our progressive values. Up and down the ticket, you need to vote for your Democratic candidates that best represent your values. I always believe in the progress of our country. As I said, I came to this country as an immigrant, and I have directly benefited from the enormous opportunities and policies that we, the government of the people, by the people, for the people, has fought for. And I'm going to continue to fight for this as well. FDR once said that the progress of our country, how we test the progress of our country, is not whether we give more to those who have much, it's whether we give enough for those who have little. And this is the spirit and the philosophy that I will fight for once elected to United States Congress. I hope that I can earn your trust and your vote to be the next Congresswoman for Maryland's 6th Congressional District. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hanna?
2 years. Give me 2 years to prove to you that no one will ever work harder for you and your families than me. As I mentioned before, I've gone up against the oil and gas exploration industry in this state and won. I've gone up against union-busting bosses who've denied their workers collective bargaining or rest breaks and won. And I've gone up against the health insurance companies that have discriminated against people like you and me based on pre-existing conditions or how poor you are, and won. For 12 years, I've battled the monsters in Annapolis and won. And when I haven't, I was fighting the good fight. Now, I told you before, I've tried to be the state senator that my family needed when I was growing up, and I have. This is not, I'm not looking for a pay raise. I'm not looking for a title. This is hard work. Representing people like my family who are getting their asses kicked. The Baltimore Sun won't even print that. If you can't, you're not ready to have this conversation. People losing their health care, losing their jobs, losing their livelihoods. It used to be that you could go to school, high school, like my dad had a 4th grade education, and get a job in a plant with benefits and collective bargaining and send your kids to college. Those families are all over Western Maryland. They're in Montgomery County, they're in my district, they're in Aspendale and Gaithersburg, right? And they're now working, many of them, 30-hour-a-week jobs with no benefits. We want to talk about how opioids and the opioid crisis feeds. It's when people lose hope. My whole life and career has been about that guy, about that family, about somebody who needs government to just work for them. And it's hard work. Every day I roll up my sleeves and get to work for the people I represent, people just trying to make it. And if you give me 2 years to prove to you that I'm that guy, that I've got your back, I'll be the kind of congressman, the kind of elected official who my family needed, who I hope your family receives, and try to deliver the kind of Congress that we need. And by the way, to respond to what was mentioned before, we do need 24 seats in the House of Representatives to stop Donald Trump. But we need to put progressives in there, not corporate Democrats. I'm the only person standing up there here with due respect who had the courage to vote against or advocate against a $11.4 million tax cut for dead rich people, privatizing 300 good jobs, union jobs in Montgomery County, or burning garbage and giving those garbage burners clean energy credits. That's not cool. I will never do that as a member of Congress, and I hope you'll give me that opportunity. Thank
Thank you. Ms. Hersey?
I might be a little too tall to reach this microphone. But thank you all first for coming out. Thank you to Our Revolution for hosting this and putting this together. I'm running for Congress because I've seen the way that our economy is moving. I've seen the way that families are losing opportunities. I see the way costs are rising. I see the way that we can't even have dialogue at any level, political level in this country, because it's become so poisoned by technology and by ideology. I decided to leave my job as an aerospace executive. I'm leaving a career of science and policy and technology to run for something I believe in, to represent you, the people. We need more scientists in Congress. We need people who are scientifically literate. We need people that will bring the energy and the passion and the knowledge base to a Congress that sorely needs it. We have a Congress where if you met with people, they care more about where you went to school, what's on your resume, than why you're even there to talk to them. Whether it's about funding health care, funding education to prepare students for this new American economy. We need to have the conversation. We need to plan for the future. And if we do not, we will leave it to our posterity, to our children, our grandchildren, not much of a social safety net if we allow Trump and we allow Republicans to constantly destroy the foundation that has helped me, help people like State Senator Mano and others get up, raised from the bootstraps, but with the help and the compassion, integrity that we need to represent everybody, and not just millionaires, billionaires, and interest groups that just want to take power over value and keep what they have. So in Congress, I will make sure that those values are reflected every day. And I ask for your vote, and I ask for your support, and I'm happy to talk with anyone afterwards. So thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Nadia Hashimi?
Thanks, everyone. I know it's been a long afternoon. We're almost there. This has been an incredible journey for me already. I am not a politician, and I am not part of an establishment. Those two words have taken on a negative connotation for a reason. It's because we don't trust politicians in our government. It's because we know that the establishment creates an environment that doesn't reflect us. So what we've seen in the last couple of years, and I think that we have to thank President Trump for part of this, is a whole new group of people standing up and looking to reclaim politics. I am part of that. I'm proud to say that in my travels through the district, I've sat down with people who are for the first time having a meet and greet with a candidate. I've gone to institutions where they have never hosted one of these events before. But something different is happening. People have been awakened. We have a completely upside down system right now, where our representatives are looking more at shareholders and bottom lines than they are the people that they're supposed to be representing. We have people who are insisting on traditional family values, but at the same time knocking down the families that they're supposed to be representing. We have people who are condemning poverty but putting education out of reach and condemning us to a lifetime of medical debt. We know that there are those who are more concerned with the well-being of insurance companies than they are with our own well-being. We have people who are erasing from our nation's institutions important words like evidence-based and nation of immigrants. They're denying our culture, they're denying our history. And that's why you see a new wave of people stepping up. Like I mentioned, you've got fired up moms, you've got activists, you've got children. And this is a day where we reclaim the system and say that the values that are demonstrated in our legislation should be representative of the values that are demonstrated by our hearts and our actions in our neighborhoods. So I hope to have the chance to represent this district and bring some true change. Thank you.
Okay. I think it's clear that I'm new to politics, and I think it's clear that this whole forum took me by surprise, and I've shown my frustration with it. That being said, there's been a lot of talk about values, and I would like to share with you some values that I learned. My folks grew up during the Depression in small towns in the segregated South. And they came to DC to help build LBJ's great society because from their own experience, they understand that we weren't living up to our promise as a people. And what they taught me were several things. And these are the values, these are my core values, values that I would not compromise on in trying to put together policy with people perhaps who might disagree with me. One is that everybody is entitled to a fair shake. And that the second, no matter how low you may have fallen or you may have started, everyone can and should be lifted up to stand on their own 2 feet. Wealth is not the true measure of a person, nor does it give that person a greater say in how our society works. And no matter who you are or how other people perceive you, we are all entitled to the same rights and freedoms. And last, but certainly not least, public good always takes precedence over private gain. So I thank the Ira Revolution for holding this forum, and to those of you who have been interested in talking about your concerns and how you think we can make this country work for everyone, I'm happy to stay behind and talk with you.
Thank you. Andrew Duck?
Let me take a few seconds just to address something that was mentioned earlier on. It was pointed out that my position on the Hyde Amendment changed from previously, and that is true. I am the 15th out of 17 children. And I came from a family that was a Catholic family. And the pro-life value was very important. And what I said when I was running before, to make sure that I was clear on the fact that that might be a value that I hold, that I don't think that's the government's position, is I will always ensure that I don't impose my personal religion, and I said I will not change the existing laws on abortion. My point in saying that was that women should have the right to control their body. The fact that I have a particular religious belief is my personal belief, and I will not impose that on anybody else. That being said, I want to talk a little bit about this district and the state of our country. We have a country that is terribly divided. And we look at this district, and you can see it in this district. The difference between Western Maryland and Montgomery County is stark. I think this district needs to be represented by somebody who understands both of those halves of this district. I grew up in Frederick County. I went to high school, graduated from Middletown High School. I understand the rural part of this district. I don't need to ask for 2 years. I've been in this district. I live in Brunswick, but I've been commuting to the Pentagon for the last 14 years, so I understand the DC metropolitan area. I believe that I'm the one candidate who has had a foot in both halves of this district and understands that. And I believe that that is important as we try to reunify our country today. we have too much division. We need to be able to reach out and talk to people who disagree with us, establish rapport, and then bring our progressive values. And if you're not willing to talk to them, if you're not willing to try to make a connection to them, then they won't accept anything you have to say. Progressive values don't work if we just tell them to other progressives. We need to get out there and talk to those conservatives who are out there. We need to reach across the line. As a veteran, we didn't care what party you were. We were focused on accomplishing a mission. Our nation is under attack. And they are using that divide. They're using every chance they can to find a little issue, to find a little nitpick, to divide us. We cannot do that. We as progressives must understand that we need to reach out in love even to those conservatives who hate us. And I have been doing it for more than 12 years across the 6th District. I don't need to ask for 2 years. I've already put in 12.
Thank
I
you,
ask
Andrew
you to
Duff.
let me continue that.
All right, so thank you, everyone. Can we get a big round of applause for our candidates? I just want to say to thank you so much for coming out, for taking the time to answer our questionnaires. I know that